Gabby. I am 25. I grew up here, born and raised in Connecticut. Haven't left yet, but I grew up an only child. So like my whole life, I was extremely independent. And I always start off by saying that because I honestly think it's important. And I think that it has a lot to do with the kind of person that I am today. Like when I was younger, I hated being an only child. I was like so jealous of all my friends who had siblings to hang out with all the time. And I always would like get mad at my parents and be like, why did you only have me? Like, why don't I have somebody to play with all the time? But it really like did form me into the kind of person that I am today. Like I was doing things at a young age like that nobody was doing because they had siblings to rely on or to look after or to have help them with whatever it was. And I was just, my parents definitely raised me right. And I've been working my butt off for everything that I have ever since I was like 16. And yeah, so that's kind of like how I grew up. And I went to school in Boston. And that was like a huge deal for me, even though I'm in Connecticut, but like 2 hours away from home when like I was only a child my whole life and I was just such a homebody. That was like a big deal for me. It kind of was like really out of my comfort zone. But again, like I think the way that I was brought up really kind of prepped me for that in the same sense, even though it was like really scary. And it was the best time ever. So that was really cool. And that's really kind of when I started like my whole health journey, I guess you can say. I never was the kind of person who like took care of myself really in terms of health. Like I just didn't really watch what I was putting in my body. I would like go to the gym and like get on the elliptical for like 10 minutes and thought I like did this killer workout. And, I look back on it now and like, I take pride in like trying, I guess, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing at all. But I was really, in college when I kind of started realizing that I needed to start taking care of myself in that manner. The whole freshman 15 and the whole drinking all the time, like that's a real thing. Like in college, like that's something that like really, happens. And it sure did happen to me. And it was kind of then when I realized like, okay, like I want to become healthy, not just for myself, but like for my future self. And that's kind of what kickstarted really that whole thing.
What were kind of those first steps you took to take I guess, better care of yourself? Like, did you go see a personal trainer? Did you, did you do research on your own? How did you kind of take that initial step?
Yeah, so I had followed like a lot of like Fitspo people on Instagram and whatnot, and a lot of them had sold like booty guides and like 6-week guides and like all that kind of stuff. So I was like, you know what, I guess the first step is to purchase one of these. At least it'll give me something to like follow that, like, because I didn't know what I was doing. So I was like, I need something like written out for me that I know that like at least if I have it in front of me, I'll go do it. And whether I'm doing it right or wrong, like at least I'm doing that and not just guessing. So I purchased a 4 or 6 week guide, I don't remember, from this girl on Instagram. And it was probably, I think it was my senior year of college. And I purchased that. And that's kind of just like how I started really like weightlifting. And that got me into that portion of working out. So I kind of shied away completely from my elliptical that I was so in love with. And I started weightlifting. So that kind of really kickstarted all of that. And then from there, after I became semi-confident in terms of like, I kind of knew what I was doing when it came to weightlifting, I would just like look up workouts. I mean, you can find workouts literally anywhere, whether it's on Instagram or YouTube or whatever it was. I would find workouts pretty much anywhere that I could. And that just was different. And that like switched it up. And that's really kind of what made me fall in love with weightlifting.
It's funny to kind of hear you say like the social media was one of the first, if not the first avenues you took, talking to kind of younger people, you hear about that more. Talking to people, a little bit older than us, 35, 45, things like that. You kind of did rely more on almost like the passed down knowledge, which a lot of times wasn't great. You relied more on kind of like that one person at the gym that might, look big and buff, or kind of the
Right.
person in your family that maybe worked out in high school or college. Now it seems like, Instagram or whatever, just social media in general is that first avenue. And I kind of remember I didn't really go through the social media as much in my early days, if you want to call it, but I definitely did go through like the internet. I went through like bodybuilding.com, and I went through all those kind of websites to
Right,
just,
right.
find different workouts, find what people were saying and what works for other people. And it's so bizarre now how we have access to all this information. And, even though that access is there, it still seems like the information is almost the same though. You still get kind of some of the good stuff, the sketchy stuff. It's oftentimes really hard to tell the good from the bad. Did you have
It is.
any, initial struggles with that?
Yeah. So, and I think even more so now, like, 5 years ago when I graduated college, and like, this is like, I bought some guide off of somebody. It really wasn't as sketchy, like, as it is now. And that's sad because now it's kind of sort of, um, how do I say it? Like, people just want people's money now. It's like really what it is. Like, no one genuinely, not no one, a lot of people don't genuinely care about other people, whether it's a random person that someone's like buying their guide, or if you are like a one-on-one coach. Like, I know a bunch of coaches, unfortunately, who literally don't care about their clients. They just want to take their money, and they're not going to care about them as a person whatsoever. And so that's something that, I actually never personally had to deal with that, but I definitely see it a lot. And like, I hear stories a lot about people who have gone through that, or have, come to me and they're like, oh, my coach told me to eat 1,200 calories. And she's like, a 25-year-old healthy girl. And like, no one should be eating 1,200 calories at all. And like, that just goes to show that that coach knew that that person didn't know what they were doing and really needed help, and they were going to listen to whatever the coach says because they're a coach, so they should know what they're talking about. But no, unfortunately, that is a thing. Like, people just want people just want your money, and they don't really care about your well-being whatsoever.
Yeah, it does seem like there's so many kind of self-proclaimed life coaches and coaches and personal trainers, and
Mhm.
I think, getting a getting a certification is definitely a step in the right direction. I think it helps. I think it educates the person, but even now I feel like it's so concentrated with just so many people. It's
Right,
almost like we need like another level of
right.
kind of classifying who knows what they're talking about and who is just kind of out here, like you said, trying to just make money.
Yeah, no, it is, unfortunately, like I said too, like, the more and more time that goes by, the more I unfortunately see things and hear more stories about people who do just get ripped off all the time. And it's sad because I, again, didn't personally have that experience, but I mean, I think that I definitely would have been one of those people who got ripped off because I didn't know a single thing. Like, I was searching for help, and then you have this person, you're confiding in this person who says, yeah, like, let me help you. I could help you. And like, you pay this person for that service, and, then they just kind of don't even care about you. Like, that's not cool. It's not something that anyone should ever have to go through.
What kind of struggles did you kind of face along the beginning of your journey? Was it more of like a physical struggle? Was there more mental struggles, or was it a little bit of both?
I think that it was definitely evenly both. I think more so, honestly, mentally, like, I got in my head a lot. Like, I didn't really believe in myself, in terms of that I could, accomplish things that I wanted to accomplish. And even just like finding confidence in a gym is like really hard. And, I kind of mentioned that before too. Like, you have to become confident in like what you're doing, for obviously a few reasons. One, because like, you want to make sure you're doing things right, but also two, like, it's intimidating to walk into a gym, depending on like what gym you go to, but it's intimidating in general. It's walking into a gym and like seeing all these people who, you know, act and seem like they've been there quite a few times, like they really know what they're doing, and then here you are, like this newbie, and it's terrifying. Like, it is so scary to be the new person in a gym. And a lot of people will come to me now and say that. And I think that it's important to share that, like, I was that person at one point. Like, people now look at me like I'm this confident person in the gym. Like, I still kind of get gym anxiety, and I've been lifting for like 4 years. And, I go to the same gym and I know probably almost everybody in that gym, but like, it's still intimidating. So, getting over that mental block of like, nobody's really watching you. Everyone's there doing their own thing. Like, you need to kind of convince yourself that, because it's absolutely true. Because then I think about it too, and it's like, I'll notice these people, but like, I don't like sit there and watch what they're doing for the whole time they're at the gym. But when you are new, that is all you can think about. Like all you can think about is who's watching me. Am I doing something right? Is someone making fun of me? Are they looking at my outfit? Are they looking at my form? Like, it's a terrifying thing. So I think once getting over that like mental block, and realizing like, okay, like you're fine. Like, good for you for being here. Like literally just giving yourself a pep talk. Like that's what I used to do. Just like give yourself a pep talk, and like just getting there is the hardest part. Once you're there, no one else really gives a shit about you and your workout, like point blank. And then the physical part too, like it's also kind of intimidating, like looking at people who have like worked out forever and they're over here like bench pressing like way more weight than you can even think about. But everybody starts somewhere, and I think that that's super important to always remember too, and like give yourself a pep talk about. Like everyone starts somewhere. Like that person who's benching like all of that weight did not start at that weight, and that person worked up to that. So physically, like you're over here pressing 10-pound dumbbells and you feel like you're the weakest person in the world, but somebody can't even press 10-pound dumbbells. So I think it's kind of both mental and physical, feeling physically weak, but then also like mentally kind of getting in your head about everything besides the actual workout is also really hard.
Yeah, I think the people you meet at the gym, like once you kind of get a little bit of confidence and you do start to meet different people, and it's so cool, like the mindsets of people. Some people are just going to be jerks no matter what, but just the majority of people, once you get to talk to people, and it's so much support, and then there's so many good people who are just there to improve themselves. And I think that's such a cool group to be around, the people who are looking to improve themselves. And just thinking about a few people that I've met, and honestly, I don't even know their name. Like I've never got their name.
Yeah.
I've never stayed in contact with them, but people that I just would see at the gym going, on a daily basis. And, you even just like a glance over, like, oh, hey, how's it going kind of thing. And you don't even say
Right.
a word, but it just kind of gives you a little bit of, a good feeling to be there and to be amongst that kind of person. And,
Absolutely. Well, I think too, it's like the people that are there are you're most likely going to be like-minded with those people. I mean, whatever their intention is for being there, like they are trying to improve themselves in some sort of way. Like everyone's going to have a different like goal specifically, but like at the end of the day, you're all there to improve yourself, like no matter what. So I think that's like really important too, to like remember that, when you do kind of get in your head about certain things, like just remembering that that person is here for X reason and I'm here for this reason, but like we're both here for the same reason. And no matter what I'm thinking that person is thinking about me, like we're both here. And like you're right, the people that you meet at the gym are like a different kind of person. Like they are, the people I've met at the gym anyways have always been so friendly, so nice. And it's like I laugh now because I did used to be in that mindset of like, oh my God, I'm terrified of everyone here, and like everyone's probably so mean and everyone's judging me. But like, no, everyone's like the nicest person ever. And I've actually met so many friends and people who I've just like connected with, and now like we're social media friends. Now we like encourage each other on social media, and that is a whole like really cool aspect of it too. It's like the people you meet are very, very awesome.
So how long kind of did it take for you to start to feel that confidence and then decide, hey, maybe I want to start helping other people?
So it took me a good while. Again, like I still feel like I'm trying to find it in a sense. It's not something that really comes naturally to me whatsoever. But definitely over the years of being there and like working on myself mentally and physically, it becomes easier. But it got to a point where I did decide to start sharing my journey and my life on social media, and I realized that people like wanted to know about it and like cared about it. And I was like, that's weird. Like I really just did it as like an accountability thing, like for myself. I never really thought people would like care about what I was doing or how I was doing it. It got to a point where people like actually started like wondering how I was seeing results and like how I was doing things. And I think at that point I had no idea. Just like I was just doing it. But then I actually started, educating myself, and I actually hired a coach, and I learned so much. And I like took all the right steps in terms of how I could educate myself even more. And at that point, I think I was like, oh, okay, like now I can actually help people. Like, I always helped people in terms of like giving them, pep talks and like telling them they can do it, and, just telling them not to give up. But like now I can help people, actually see results that they want to see. And that's a really, really cool feeling. And I think that's why too, like I get so upset about like coaches out there who don't care about their clients. Like it's actually really upsetting because, as a coach, like all you want, if you are in it for the right reasons, all you want is to see somebody else succeed, and watch somebody else, fall in love with themselves. And that's the end goal for me anyways. Like all I want to do is make somebody be happy with who they are as a person, mentally and physically, because it's definitely both. So yeah, that's why I get so upset about coaches who just like rip people off, because it's so much more than actually just, telling somebody to go to the gym. Like it's so much more than that. It's so much deeper than that.
Yeah, I think it is. It's so much of it is a mental journey and a mental battle and mental growth. I think probably most of it is. And, we, a lot of times we get into wanting to go to the gym for the appearance reasons. And it's like, that's what it is for, I think, for a while. And then when you start to see like kind of what you're capable of, you become more, you become proud of yourself and your body and what it can do and how it can move. And, you get stronger and you become, confident in, oh, I can lift this much weight. Wow, that's really cool. I can, I never thought I could do that. Then I think that kind of the transition happens between like, I'm doing this so I'll look a certain way. And then it becomes like, I'm doing this because it makes me feel a certain way. It makes me feel good when I can accomplish, setting a new, PR on the squat, or setting whatever. Did you ever kind of struggle to kind of on that back and forth a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think with anything in life, you're going to have like great days and you're going to have like not so great days. And yeah, like there are days like I go to the gym and I physically feel the best I've ever felt. I feel like I look the best I've ever felt, or best I've ever looked rather. And, you know, there are also days like where I go to the gym and I feel like shit and everything feels heavy, and I get in my own head and I'm like, I can't do this. Like, why did I even come here? Like, and I definitely have to like pause and like take a step back and be like, Gabby, like remember why you started this to begin with. Like remember why you're here. Remember how far you've come. Like, the things that I do now, I wouldn't even think that I would be doing, 4 years ago. So yeah, like there are definitely days like where I struggle and I have to like remind myself like why the hell I started doing this to begin with and like why I love it so much. And most of it is not because it makes me physically look great or physically feel great, but like it's mentally like freeing at the same time. Like the gym is so much more than a place where you can go to physically look great. Like I know a lot of people who, including myself, who go there because it's like my time. It's time that I set aside for myself. It's time that like I get to just block everything else in the world out and like focus on me and like what I want to do and my workout. And it's just something that's like very therapeutic. And I know a lot of people who also feel that way. And, that's why during COVID, like at the height of everything, it was like so honestly depressing. Like when they closed the gyms, I'm like, so they're going to close the gym and have people be locked up in their house. Like the gym is so much more than a place to go physically look good. Like it really is for a lot of people. So that was something I definitely struggled with then. I was like, I felt lost. I was like, what am I supposed to do? Well, I mean, I like go to work and I go to the gym and like hang out with my dog. It's like the only things I do. So I was like, okay, well, at least now I have work and I have my dog. So I get it. People were scared and that's all well and good, but like at least give them the option. Like if they're scared, they don't have to go to the gym, but you don't have to close it.
Right.
Like, you know, if someone's like that scared, they just won't go, but at least give people the option, you know, but there's so much more that plays into that. But yeah, it was a really weird time, like doing at home workouts, like you said, like making that transition from like being in a full blown gym. Like, I think I felt like at the same point too, like I was like, oh my God, I'm finally feeling great in the gym. And like, I can finally do this, this, and that. And then, yeah, like working out at home is, you're still getting a workout in, and that's still great, but it's so different. Like it's so, so different. And then you transition back into like lifting weights, like using barbells and dumbbells, like, you know, depending on what you had in your at home gym setup, like it's weird. Like it's really weird.
Yeah. And then like coming back to having more equipment, it was just such a weird feeling of like, wow, I used to do this as a warm up and now it's like a struggle for me to do. And it was so tough to get back into those things because it,
Yeah,
you
totally.
know, you put all that time in and I think when you know, like, okay, this is how you get it done. This is just what I got to do, how much time I got to put back into it. It makes it a little bit easier. But at the same time, it's like, wow, what if, you know, if only I had that other time where I wasn't off, where would I be now? And I think that's
Right.
such a struggle. And kind of going to that point, like when people say, oh, I waited too long in my life, you know, I'm 40 or I'm 50 years old. There's only X amount of time left. I might as well just kind of live how I want to live. And
Oh, absolutely. And I also am like such a firm believer that like, I don't think any point in your life is too late to start something. Like, I think that you can, you know, wait until you're 50 years old and start something, whether it's a hobby or whether it's a business or whatever it may be. I think that you can do that at any age and be super successful no matter what age you're at. I mean, at the end of the day, age really is just a number, and you can do anything at any point in time. It's just all about like believing in yourself and like having that willpower to like actually do it. Mindset is literally everything. Like, it really, like, things are going to suck in life. You're going to go through shitty situations, you're going to go through shitty things, but it's really how you react to those things that matter. You know, you're absolutely entitled to be upset over things that happen in life, but it depends on, you know, how you feel, you know, a year from now or a month from now about that situation is all going to depend on you and what you do in reaction to whatever it is that you are upset about. And that's just huge. You know, you have to be in the right mindset, because you can totally take something and spiral out of control with it in like the worst way, or you can take it and make it the best possible situation that it could be, and, you know, hopefully maybe inspire somebody else that's going to go through something shitty too, and, you know, let them know that like it's possible to look at it in this way. Like, you don't have to just stay down and out about it. Like, you can make it as good as you can, for sure.
something you did or you talked about at one point was 75 hard.
Oh, my favorite topic.
Tell us a
Yes.
little bit about that.
Okay, so to give a full background on it, 75 Hard is a mental toughness program that was created by Andy Frisilla. He is the owner of First Form Supplements, and he has a podcast that I've listened to for a few years now, maybe a couple years, few years. He is a very blunt person. He is really awesome. He has, quote unquote, that really great mindset. He will tell it how it is, and that's just it. But he created this program, and basically it's just to, you know, create mental toughness. And it's not an easy thing at all. It is indeed tough. And for 75 straight days, you have 5 tasks that you have to complete. One of them is doing 45-minute workouts a day. One of them has to be outside. So conditions will never be perfect. If it's raining, if it's snowing, if it's blizzarding, whatever it is, if it's scorching hot, if it's -5 degrees, nope, you have to do a workout outside. That can consist of anything, really: a walk, a run, whatever the heck you want to do. If you want to stand there and jump rope for 45 minutes, anything that you're going to break a sweat and get your heart rate up is considered a workout. So that's task 1. And those workouts do have to be 3 hours apart. So you can't like do them consecutively. So you have to do them at least 3 hours apart. And task number 2 is to follow some sort of a diet. So this can be anything in terms of, you know, tracking macros or going gluten-free, dairy-free, Whole30, whatever works for you. You know, he gives you that leeway of being able to choose whatever diet that you want to choose. You know, but this means too, like, just because if you track macros and you can fit in a chocolate chip cookie in your macros, that's all well and good. But like, no, there's no cheat meals and there's no alcohol. And that's also task number 3. So nothing, if you have to question what you're putting in your mouth, you probably shouldn't be eating it. You know, it has to be a clean diet for sure. You can't, just eat chocolate because it fits in your macros. So yeah, number 3 is no cheat meals, no alcohol. Number 4 is to take a progress picture every day. Even though this is all mental, naturally you are going to change physically if you are putting in the work, obviously doing 2 workouts a day and eating correctly and cutting out alcohol, you are going to change physically. That's just a given. So, taking a progress picture every day is one of the tasks. And you also have to drink a gallon of water a day and read 10 pages of a non-fictional book. So something that you're going to learn something from. So I think that's 6, actually. That's not 5. That's 6. But yeah, so doing all of these in a full day, and that, along with being tough, creates some time management. You have to definitely figure out, like, around your schedule when you are going to do each one of these tasks, how you are going to complete them, and basically, if you derail at all, if you fail one of them, you have to start over at day 1. So 75 Hard is just the actual first portion of this entire program. It's actually called the Live Hard program. So everyone knows about 75 Hard, but there's actually 3 phases that come after it. It's a whole year-long program, and I'm actually coming up on phase 3. I start on the 30th or the 31st. You have to end phase 3 on the first, like, your 1-year anniversary of the day you started 75 Hard. So, like, for example, I started on March 1st of last year, and then I did the phases between then. You can do the phases like whenever you choose. And then you have to end though phase 3 on like your 1-year anniversary. So all in all though, it is a program that completely changed my life. And not just, I mean, the physical part is just like a bonus, but just who I am, like, as a person, I don't even know who I was last year. Like, it's kind of crazy because doing all of these things every day, naturally makes you prioritize them. And when you're prioritizing these things that are benefiting your life, you kind of open your eyes to things that you may have been prioritizing before that did not benefit you whatsoever. And I think that goes along with not even just like eating or like alcohol or anything like that, just like the people that you have in your life and your relationships, whether, it's a friendship or an actual relationship in terms of someone that you're dating, like, it just opens your eyes to so many things.
Yeah, it's definitely a very widely controversial program.
Totally. It's not for everybody. It's not. And like, there are many people who go into it like wanting to lose 20 pounds, and right off the bat, like, you're going into it for the wrong reasons. It's not a weight loss program. It's not. Like, you're not going to go into this with that intent and get the full effects out of this program.
So yeah, I actually did this 75 Hard, the first part. I finished it January
Okay.
2nd was my first day off, if I want to call it that. And
Okay.
I remember I woke up that morning and it was so weird. Like, I knew I didn't have to do anything, any of those tasks. And still the first kind of thought I had was like, let's go do these things. It was so weird.
You want to, and that's really the intent of it. Like, the intent of it is behind all of it, Andy wants you to realize that, like, there are things that you can do every day to benefit your life, and you're supposed to take that powerless and those tasks and then apply it to the rest of your life. And they might not be those 5 specific tasks, but you're supposed to now create your own and, like, roll with it that way. And that is the whole point behind it. So yeah, I definitely experienced like the same thing. I just kind of kept rolling with it. And I was, more lenient with myself in terms of certain things. But like, I remember being in 75 Hard, and like, I got to a point where like failure just was not an option. Like, it just didn't, you get to this, like, it's like you get to like a high almost, and you're like, okay, like, that's it. Like, we're going to do this thing. And, what may seem so hard at first, it just becomes routine.
Right. I think it it's definitely like pushed me to think about what I'm doing more, what is the
Yeah.
point of each thing I am doing, and that's kind of
100.
the same thought I had. It was like, even after I'm done with this, like I now kind of know like what I want to do on a daily basis, like what's the most important things to me that I want to get done each day. And it's just made me think about like, okay, I'm going to spend more time doing these things, less time obviously doing those things. And I think it almost like created this new idea of like what balance really is. I think a lot of people think of it as like 50-50. It's got to be equal on both sides. But I think the new idea for me just definitely has been like balance is, the weight kind of the quote unquote bad things within a person's life is much heavier than the good things. So, you have to add up those good things, and you have to kind of take away some of those bad things to really have good balance. And not in a bad way per se, but like it really is like almost reprogramming.
Yeah. No, I totally did like an entire audit on my life, like everything. Like, I mean, I went into this like with basically, I'm going to come out of this program with, I wouldn't say new friends, but definitely the people that I did meet within this year. I definitely questioned a little bit more than I would have if like they were going to be an improvement in my or something that was going to improve my life. Were they beneficial to have in my life? And the people that I kind of noticed weren't beneficial aren't in my life anymore. And that no hard feelings to those people, but like if you are not benefiting me in my life at this point in my life, I really don't want you in it. And that's a really selfish thing. And I think this program kind of made me realize that it's okay to be selfish in those ways. You only have one life, and it's so cliche, but like you only have one life, and every decision that you make every single day will depict your future, and that goes hand in hand with the people that you have in your life. So yeah, I did a whole audit on my entire life. I'm coming out of this program with a new job. I'm living in a new place. There's just a bunch of things that I learned about myself throughout this, and like really what I want in, my life in the future. And it starts now. So it's been life changing, point blank.
I think kind of one of the funny things along the way that I caught myself doing and thinking was like, was like if I thought something was going to be hard, like regardless of if it was in the, task I had to do or not, it almost like if I thought it was going to be hard, I almost made myself do it. I was like, oh, wait, this is hard because it's probably something that is supposed to be like beneficial, or it's supposed to be like pushing me out of my comfort zone.
Right.
So it's like I made myself do it, but it wasn't like this conscious thing almost. It was like, oh, wow, this is hard. And like it made me think, why is it hard? And then if it was supposed to be something I was going to benefit from, it's like, okay, it's going to
That's
suck probably
the
while I'm doing it, but I push myself to do those harder things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, people say all the time too, and I'm such a firm believer in this, is like, you're not going to get anywhere in life being comfortable. It's just a given. Like, you have to be uncomfortable to grow. And that goes with literally every part of your life. And like you just said, like, if it's hard, it's probably going to teach you something, whether that's a feeling that you're going through, whether it's a task that you're doing. If it's hard, it's going to be, something that you're going to learn something from in the long run or in the short term, whatever it is. You are so right with that, because definitely, if something's easy, you don't think twice about it.
How do you see yourself moving past and forward from that? Have you thought about what comes next?
I have briefly. I kind of feel like just everything that I have learned from the program, like I do apply like those things to my everyday now. And I think that when I question myself on something, or like I question if I can do something, I think about how I felt going into 75 hard, literally thinking I was not going to be able to do it whatsoever. I kind of just remind myself like what I'm actually capable of. So in terms of, going forward, I think that now I definitely set way bigger goals for myself because I know that I can accomplish them and I want to struggle to get there. And I want to push myself like to limits that I don't think that I can, I can get to or that I can reach because I thought that at one point and like look at me now. So I think that's what I take every day with myself. And I just kind of remind myself of that for sure. Like every time I doubt myself, it's like, don't do that. Like just think of where you could be and where you will be once you do accomplish that. And whatever it takes to get there, it's going to be worth it.
Yeah, I think it's amazing almost what we can accomplish when we just like decide to do it and then we put in the work. And
Absolutely.
I don't know.
It's all about dedication. Like it's all about, and people ask me this all the time too. It's like, they're like, how do you like stay motivated? And I'm like, it's not motivation all the time. Like, let me tell you, it's really not. But I know that when I'm disciplined, I feel my best. And when I stay disciplined in the routine that I know works for me, that's when I'm going to be my best and perform my best. So even though I don't feel like going to the gym the days that I go to the gym, or even though I don't feel like making my bed some mornings, or I don't feel like, doing X, Y, and Z, like I know that I have to do those things to feel my best. And all I want is to feel my best. So it's just telling myself, like, basically get the hell over it and do it.
Yeah. And I remember like a lot of times I would, I would try to read my pages, get them done early. I wouldn't be able to, and I would be sitting there at night and I would just be thinking, wow, I hate this because it's, I knew like, okay, I'm not gonna mess this up. I'm on day whatever. And part of that too, the struggle is just like getting into that rhythm and not taking it almost for granted and really for me at least thinking about it because one time I had to restart because I forgot to read a page. I was saving it for bedtime and I was going to finish that page up. I was set it on the counter and I just was so tired and I went to bed and I was like, oh my God, I forgot. And that
Well,
just
it's
felt so
integrity.
bad.
Integrity plays like a huge part in it. It's like you need to, like, a lot of people would have just been like, oh, I read 9 pages, like that's fine, like, and kept going. But like you need to be honest with yourself. Like you don't get to cheat that program, and if you do, then you're just not doing the program. Like, and that's something that like I've found like a lot, like in conversations with people, they'd be like, oh well, it was like just one piece of chocolate, and I'm like, no. No, it's not just one piece of chocolate. Like you didn't follow your diet, like you failed, you need to restart. And that's something too that people who do that and like say those things and act that way, like they don't understand like the actual like intent behind the program. And I think just because I'm so passionate about it, it gets to me. But mostly because, not because I judge those people who do that or like think differently of them, but it's because I want everybody to feel how I feel. Like I want everybody to be able to experience the aftermath of completing this program and like the overall mental change. Like people ask me all the time, like, how much did it change you mentally? I'm like, a lot. Like just do it. Like just do it, and like you will see. And then people who have done it and like have done it for the right reasons and the right way will come to me and be like, Gab, like holy shit, like wow, like I can't believe that like I am who I am, or I was that person. I'm like, I told you. Like it's literally crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I think it's a crazy kind of idea to push yourself and challenge yourself like that, especially in kind of in a day and age where we are, where it's so short-term gratification and pleasure. I think it teaches a lot, and it kind of the first thing you said was the most important. It's not a weight loss plan. It's not really a physical kind of thing at all. It's the physical side's the easiest side of it. It's just a matter of pushing through when it gets tough. But talking about your podcast, I would be curious to know why you started yours and kind of what the journey has been like.
So I guess I always thought that I should have my own reality TV show. Honestly, like my life like has been great, but it's been like crazy. Like the things that have happened in my life like are just wild in all different, senses of that word. But I always would share, like, I loved sharing my stories. Like, people thought my stories were funny because of the things that I went through. And, I love to talk. My name suits me very well. Like, I'm definitely a Gabby person. Like, I talk a lot. And I, had a couple suggestions from people that were like, why don't you just like start a podcast? Like, just do it. And I thought about it and I was like, oh, I don't know. And then, I knew a few people who did it, and I actually met up with one of my friends, and I was like, she has her own podcast as well. And I was like, I just don't know where to start. Like, I don't know like how to like make this a thing. And I think that was really what held me back. Like, I could do all this research and whatnot, but I didn't really like know what the hell I was doing. Like, I thought you had to be some like professional in doing this. And so I met up with her, and she gave me like great advice, and I kind of just like rolled with it ever since then. And then I just bought a microphone one day, and I went on GarageBand on my computer, and I just started talking. And, it kind of really formed itself after that. And it comes really naturally to me just to talk. So I don't feel like it's, difficult in a sense, but at the same time, like, once you do put yourself out there, it's kind of, and I'm sure you can 100%, relate to this and agree with it. But, once you put yourself out there, it's kind of like, am I doing a good enough job? And did that sound okay? What could I do better? And just really wanting that feedback from people, and, getting that feedback from people is important, whether it's, constructive criticism or it's, great comments. It's like, that's the things you want to hear, because that's going to, better you in the long run. But there was really no exact moment like where I knew that I wanted to do it. It was just kind of always a thought, and then one day I just did it. But I love it. I think it's super fun, and I'm still very, very new. I only have like 3 episodes out right now, 4th one coming this week. But it's something that just allows me to express myself in a different way. I feel like with my Instagram, I'm constantly putting on there like, physically who I am and what I'm doing physically throughout the day and all of that. But when it comes to just you and a microphone, it's kind of a different way of expressing yourself. And I really enjoy it for that reason.
What do you kind of use? You mentioned motivation and discipline, and how, discipline should really be kind of like the foundation of getting things done and staying on track. But do you ever find yourself like really sometimes like waking up and just being like just not feeling it, not feeling good, or you have a long day and you're not feeling it, or you're not feeling good? Do you ever do anything to kind of like bump up that motivation?
So, I mean, I try to journal like every day. I recently like bought a journal. It's like a scripted journal. So it like, you go over the same things like every single day. And I think, that's important. And it really, it focuses on like expressing gratitude. And I think those things are really important as well. But there are definitely those days where I wake up and I'm like, nope, it's not happening today. And depending on the situation and like why I'm feeling like that, I think, if it's just literally because I'm being lazy and I don't like want to, for the sole purpose that I just don't want to, then I'll like, kick in that discipline. I'm like, all right, Gabby, like, let's go. But if it's because I had like a really long day the day before, or I have a long day ahead of me and I am just like physically exhausted, or even just like mentally or emotionally exhausted, like I'm also, a very big advocate of like listening to your body and like actually resting. Like, resting is going to be just as important as, it is to get in the gym and get your workout done. Resting is like everything. So, I guess it really kind of depends on why I'm having those thoughts. And, again, if it's just because I'm being lazy and like I just don't want to go, then like I'll kick it into the discipline mode. And that's really just looks like me just telling myself to stop being a bitch and like get up and go. Like, that's pretty much all it is. It's nothing really too detailed. That's just kind of, that portion of it. But again, if it's because I had a long day, or I've been doing a lot, or it was like, work was emotionally or mentally draining, there are times where I, do cut myself some slack. I'm like, all right, like you just need to go rest. Like, just give yourself, give yourself a break, go pour yourself a glass of wine and like chill with your dog, you know? So again, I think it really depends, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely those days for me for sure.
So it sounds like the David Goggins method.
Yes, 100%, 100%.
So what advice would you have for, whether it be men, women, doesn't matter the age or the gender or whatever, what advice would you have for somebody who is, looking to make 2022 the year that they not just get into it, because a lot of people get into it, but actually stick with it and make it a life and not just, a here and there kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think constantly remembering your why. There's always a reason why we do certain things, right? Whether it's going to the grocery store, going to get gas, or like, going on a vacation, like whatever it is, like there's a reasoning behind everything. And especially when it comes like a lifestyle change, I think it's important to really dive into that why. For me, it was okay, yeah, I physically want to look better, but I also physically want to be, in better shape for me right now, for my future self, for my future kids, for my future grandkids. Like, it's that deep. And I think like diving that deep is super important, because you can sit there and be like, oh, well, I want to go to the gym for the next 3 months because I want to look good in my wedding dress. Like, okay, that's great, but like, why do you want to look good in your wedding dress? Like, there's always something deeper. So I think really like sitting down with yourself and being like, okay, this is my reasoning, but these are the reasonings behind that reasoning, is something that's really important. Because it's easy to sit there and be like, okay, I don't want to go to the gym today, and like my wedding dress is going to fit no matter what. But like, if you dig deeper into like the reasonings really behind that, it's not as easy to sit there and be like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym today, and like my wedding dress is going to fit no matter what, but I'm going to end up feeling like this about myself if I don't go. Like, there's just always a deeper reason than your actual initial why. And I think sitting down and like writing that down and remembering that in the times that you may not feel your best or may not feel like you're seeing any progress, is super important. And also like being consistent and like remembering that nothing is going to happen overnight. I think it's very easy to think, oh, okay, I went to the gym for 2 weeks and I did abs 5 days out of those 2 weeks. Like, why don't I have a six pack yet? It's easy to think like that, but it takes time. Like, it takes a long time. And, it takes dedication and like I said, being consistent with it. Like, you're not going to, yeah, you can get to a place that you want to be mentally, physically, whatever in 2 months, but if you don't keep up with that, then you're going to go right back to square one. So you want to do it in a way where that it's going to be sustainable for you. But I think the biggest thing is always remembering your why.